Welcome to Scene Diary, where every frame hides a story. Let's dive in. George Lucas was so exhausted after directing the first Star Wars movie that he didn't direct the next two films of the original trilogy himself. He had planned a sequel trilogy, but gave up on the idea even before Return of the Jedi was released. Lucas thought he was done with Star Wars, but while writing the script for the first film, he had created a huge, detailed backstory. Because of this, the idea of a prequel slowly returned to his mind. When he felt computer effects had finally advanced enough to tell that story, he decided to start working again. Yes, Master. This early draft contained backstories of the characters and information about events that took place before the original trilogy. Lucas used some of these details, but there was one major change. Anakin's age was reduced from 12 to 9. George Lucas wrote the entire episode I script completely by hand, using only a pencil and a notebook. In fact, Lucas writes all his scripts this way. Carrie Fisher worked as a script doctor on The Phantom Menace, helping polish the writing and improve the dialogue. During most of the production, the film actually had a much simpler working title, The Beginning. George Lucas originally did not want to direct the new films. Nearly 20 years had passed since he last directed a Star Wars movie. After he began writing the script, Steven Spielberg, Ron Howard, and Robert Zemeckis all asked him if they could direct it. All three gave him the same answer. You need to be the one who directs this. One of the biggest influences on the film's production was the Young Indiana Jones Chronicles. Not only did many crew members from the series work on The Phantom Menace, but many of the techniques developed for the show were also used in Episode 1. All three prequel films were originally planned as one massive production to be shot back-to-back and released consecutively, but this plan was later abandoned. I gave my word to Qui-Gon. Lucas initially wanted an American actor for the role of Qui-Gon Jinn. But after seeing Liam Neeson's acting and the commanding presence he carried on screen, he changed his mind. Lucas believed Neeson had the strength and authority the character needed, someone the other actors would naturally respect. Liam Neeson was so eager for the role that he accepted it without even reading the script. Samuel L. Jackson got the role of Mace Windu simply by saying on a talk show that he wanted to be in the new Star Wars movie. Casting director Robin Gurland heard this and made it happen. Additionally, Tupac Shakur was one of the names who auditioned for Mace Windu. For the role of Queen Amidala, more than 200 actresses were considered. Even Natalie Portman, who is now a global star, didn't get the role easily. She didn't know much about the Star Wars universe, but Lucas admired her performances in Leon and Beautiful Girls, so he chose her. Natalie Portman's double was a then-unknown Keira Knightley. They looked so similar that even Keira's own mother couldn't tell them apart on set. It was only Knightley's third film, and her name was even spelled incorrectly in the credits. The story of Jake Lloyd, who played Anakin, is much darker. After the film, he was constantly bullied at school. The pressure became so overwhelming that he quit acting entirely and chose to live a quiet life away from the public. The design inspiration for Theed came from Marin County near San Francisco. After moving there, Doug Chiang was influenced by the Marin Civic Center designed by Frank Lloyd Wright. The green Nicasio Hills around Skywalker Ranch inspired the battlefield between the droids and the Gungan army. Sets were built only up to the actor's head level, and the rest was completed digitally. But Liam Neeson was so tall that the crew had to spend an additional $150,000 just to adjust the sets to fit him. Naboo's iconic waterfalls were actually made of salt. Footage of falling salt was recorded and then digitally transformed into running water. As in previous Star Wars films, shooting took place in studios in England as well as deserts in Tunisia. But for the Naboo Palace, the crew went to the Royal Palace of Caserta in Italy and took over the entire location for 4 days. How will you explain this war to the Senate? Stunt coordinator Nick Gillard drew inspiration from many different sources when creating the Jedi fighting style at the peak of their power. For the iconic final duel, He combined kendo, samurai techniques, every sword style seen so far, a bit of tennis, and even woodcutting. "Anything you can swing," he said. The Phantom Menace is the first Star Wars film to show every lightsaber activation and deactivation on screen. In the original trilogy, these moments were usually done off-camera because the blade had to be swapped out during filming, which caused a strange visual jump. Throughout filming, Ewan McGregor kept making lightsaber sound effects with his mouth, a habit that was thankfully removed during editing. The MTT troop carrier design was inspired by elephants. Concept artist Doug Chiang liked using familiar shapes to make designs easier to understand. Looking at the front of the MTT, the small slits represent the elephant's eyes and forehead, while the trunk became the loading ramp and the tusks turned into the side weapons. Costume colors were chosen based on each planet. Ian McCaig and costume designer Trisha Bigger created a palette for each world: gray, brown, and black for Coruscant, green and gold for Naboo, sun-bleached sand tones for Tatooine. During production, Jedi and Sith went through a total of 300 aluminum lightsabers. Stunt coordinator Nick Gillard personally helped create the new lightsabers needed for the physically and mentally demanding duels. Watto had only one full tooth to make sure his mouth movements matched spoken lines. His original design had two large side tusks, but this prevented correct articulation of letters like M and B, so one tooth was removed, creating Watto's crooked smile. Watto was also the first fully digital character the effects team worked on. To make a rope on his tool belt swing realistically, a special program was created. That same program was later used for Jar Jar's flapping ears. As a tribute to Steven Spielberg placing Yoda in E.T., George Lucas included members of the E.T. species in a Senate scene. He even named one of them Greeblips, Spielberg spelled backwards. Also, EVA Pod from 2001, A Space Odyssey, appears in Watto's junkyard. Many shots in the film were created by blending the best parts of different takes digitally. For example, in the scene where Padme meets Anakin, Natalie Portman's 7th take and Jake Lloyd's 1st take were combined into one flawless shot. In fact, there's only one shot in the entire film with no visual effects added: the toxic gas vent in the meeting room. Another Darth's voice was changed through dubbing as well. David Prowse, who physically played Darth Vader in the original trilogy, believed his voice would be used. But due to his rural English accent, it was replaced by James Earl Jones. In The Phantom Menace, Ray Park performed all of Darth Maul's stunts beautifully, but his voice didn't match the character, so he was dubbed by Peter Serafinowicz. When the first trailer was released, the official website crashed. The trailer played before Meet Joe Black, and around 70% of the audience bought tickets just to watch the trailer and walked out immediately afterward. The number of people who skipped work to watch The Phantom Menace even set a record. Around 2.2 million full-time workers didn't go to work on release day, causing an estimated $293 million in lost productivity. Many companies even closed on opening day, knowing employees would rush to the theater anyway. Although the film was heavily criticized for its story and acting, its technical achievements were widely praised. It was nominated for 3 Oscars: Best Sound Editing, and Best Visual Effects, but lost all 3 to The Matrix. Despite mixed reviews, the film was a massive box office success. With a budget of $115 million, it earned $28 million on opening day alone, a new record, and made $924.3 million worldwide, becoming the second highest-grossing film after Titanic. It also became the fastest-selling DVD in America, selling 2.2 million copies in its first week. You've reached the end of another Scene Diary breakdown. Thanks for watching. Share your thoughts in the comments. And if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like and subscribe. See you in the next one.